In the future, the moon is so developed it has become a key part of the resource and production chain of our entire planet. And this is where the crust kicks off and you come in. You've been sent with some advanced construction drones and some extra resources to help get you going. Good day to you, my friends, I'm Kenator, and welcome to my early access review of The Crust by Vyom Studio. And a quick thanks to the devs for sending over a key for this review. The Crust is a little unique as you can build both on the surface of the moon as well as in a cave network below. This adds to the variety and challenge, with some of the buildings like landing pads and huge vehicle construction factories only buildable on the surface, and some only underground, like the rooms for the colonists or workers. You see, The Crust is not just another factory game. Not all of your factories are automated. Some need good old human workers, who are also there to help you research too. At the same time, however, it's not quite a colony game either. The moon has been commercialized, private companies are up there vying for resources and contracts with Earth, and you are one of those businesses. The needs of these workers are not quite built up yet. Just the standard food, water, breathing. And I figure this will be further developed down the early access road, but more on that a bit later, as not once did I see a complaint or anything pop up about them being miserable or wanting more food tapes, like I've seen in other games. A lot of the early game is without people due to spoiler reasons, but not long after starting and getting basic production up and running, the game throws its first urgent story mission at you, and it's going to result in you getting your first batch of people. You have a nice few months of in-game time, but you must prepare to receive these people, which can seem both like plenty of time and overwhelming because you can hardly build anything, and there is multiple huge research trees to be filled out to unlock new things. And while I'm cool with the little time pressure situation, it really doesn't help that these tech trees are completely hidden, which makes it hard to know what to research. Something may seem trivial, but then there could be a key bit of research that you would want if you knew about it, and it could be sitting right after the last one that you can see. It additionally doesn't make sense that you can see all of the buildable things in the build menus. They are just greyed out and unselectable. So I do hope this gets changed in the future, as this doesn't make sense for multiple playthroughs either. You shouldn't need to memorize it. And speaking of menus or UI in general, it's pretty damn clean. It's also got a nifty scale feature, and one thing I really love is that the commonly used things like power poles, conveyors, mining and salvaging are all set up on this nifty right-click menu that auto-closes when you just move the mouse away from it. I've used this a lot in my playthrough, and I'd really love if they expanded this whole thing with the build menu in there as well, just popping out with deeper concentric menus. The game also has way more story to throw at you, ticking on in the background and gently pushing you while its time limit slowly slips away. But I'll keep that one on the down low, as I do try to avoid as many spoilers as I can in my reviews. I will say that all the story that I played and pretty much some of the missions are all voice acted and done well. There is also a few cutscenes to watch, so this game is far from one of those bare bones releases. And I think many a factory enjoyer will like digging into this one, specifically because it's more than just a factory game. On the factory side of things, your tried and true belt system is right there. These can be sent underground for short distances to get around obstacles. Splitters and mergers are automatic just by feeding belts into or from each other, and is included from the get-go. And they even have sorting mechanics on these as standard. Belts can also be upgraded section by section or as a whole line, so lots of the quality of life that you've come to expect from other games is right here. Drones are also used in transportation, and these are a must since there are things that only drones can do, like picking things off the ground and digging out more space to build in. They are, however, at least as far as I've found, quite unreliable, mostly down to the way the game's priority system works, or in my case, didn't work very well. I always expect bugs going into reviewing pre-release versions of games, but this one had a little bit more than most. But to the devs' credit, they were responsive to my reports, and bugs were getting squished every day or two, so I expect this will continue post-launch as well. Back to the drones, however, they also deliver resources to buildings that have broken down through use and need maintenance, and the priority system does not account for this. You can only assign low, medium, which is the default, or high priority for each building. This covers which will be built first in its construction, which will be fixed first, which will have resources taken to it or from it first, which will be the first in power delivery, more on that in a little bit too. So with no way to tell the drones to prioritize repair, there is no way to get something exactly done when I want it. and at one point I found it quicker to just destroy the building and then rebuild another one than continue to wait for a repair to finally come along. And say you wanted to prioritise moving resources to or from a building but not prioritise powering it, this too can't be done, so there's definite room for improvement with this system. Strangely, belts, drones and power lines can only be purchased with credits and not made with resources. Belts and power lines are automatically paid for on placement, and drones will need to be purchased from the market. More on the market in a moment. Now there are two main things preventing you from going mad and building a mega sprawling factory. First is of course power, which is pretty unique to this game. At the start you have only solar power, and unlike Earth, the moon has a much slower rotation cycle. One full day-night cycle takes just over 4 weeks. This creates not only the need for power, but the need for storage to survive that long night. If not planned out, you could be fine 1 minute, then suddenly left in complete darkness until even your little drones run out of power. And then later on with people, if the power goes out, well, so does their water and air systems. This is something you learn to account for very quickly and is an interesting additional challenge unique to this game. And while batteries are pretty cheap, they can't be immediately plentiful thanks to the second limiter. And no, it's not resources, it's your base CPU capacity. So much of the base is automated, and well, something has to run all of this. Thankfully, you can add more CPU cores to help boost the amount that you can build, as well as use upgraded buildings to be more efficient. For instance, the small solar panel from the beginning uses 2 CPU, and its medium panel counterpart uses 3 CPU, but it does twice the power generation for that CPU. I didn't get too deep in the game sadly, thanks to having to restart due to finding a game-breaking bug, as well as try the sandbox mode. But I know that further down the line, you'll be making and producing many more parts than you do at the start. Not only for the game's story progression, but also to earn some cold hard cash. Because as I said, you're a company too, and some of these parts you'll be building will need more complex buildings with triple inputs, as well as balancing many parts of the production to keep things efficient for that CPU usage. But the game's credit system also provides a shortcut in a way. There is a market you have access to, and you can have any of the produced resources delivered straight to your door, for a price of course. So if you can produce enough to sell the excess, and the prices are high, then you're golden. Other than the selling, however, you can fulfill requests from other companies or governments that need specific things, and this too can sometimes provide more money than selling these items. But importantly, it can also sometimes reward you with time-limited research point generation, and with 3 massive trees that will need completing, this will be competing for your time and resources. And after you outgrow your initial group of colonists or workers, you will also be using these credits to hire many more to help you operate your factory and accelerate your research even faster. You will find many surface locations on the moon for materials to be mined, salvaged, traded, and people that need saving or other events. The wider moon is traversed, at least initially, by your 2 starting rovers via the moon map. One is a cargo and personnel transport, and the other is a scout rover which can also passively generate research points. You can buy or even build more of these later down the line, as well as other large vehicles. The crust has a lot of different layers to it, some quite literally with the different build areas, and it's shaping up to be a pretty great game from what I've played. And despite the bugs, I've still had a good time with this one. However, I do predict it will have a pretty rough launch with a good probability of further bugs cropping up. I'd still definitely recommend picking this one up though, but I'd also recommend giving them another week or so for a better shakedown before really diving deep into it. One of my main gripes with the game was mostly just not being able to get something done when I wanted it done, like fixing something or having something picked up from the floor just to tidy the base a little. Take fellow factory game Dyson Sphere program. You always have your mech front and center to manually do things that you want instead of or in addition to any automated systems. Strangely, the exception to this is mining out the underground within the crust. This system automatically orders different areas selected for mining, but it also has an override, which tells your miners to go do this bit right now. So it seems this sort of thing has been thought about, but not as thoroughly as I would have liked to see. Lastly, I'd like to highlight that they're not going into early access without a plan either. Since the game was funded on Kickstarter to get it finished back in April this year, they had said the release would be in July, and they are sure on track for that so far, and have plenty lined up to 2025 and beyond. So let me know in the comments, are you excited for this game? Will you be picking it up? do you want to see a tip video to help you get started? Either way, I hope you enjoyed this review, and all relevant links are in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Kenator, out.